Hi, this is Peter. Welcome to Entrepreneurs Anonymous, where we talk about the challenges and opportunities of being an entrepreneur in South Africa.
Hey guys, my name is Nathan Smith.
Hi everyone, my name is Nandi.
Hi, I'm Felix Brendel.
Hi, my name is Heather Others.
Hey yo, what's good? It's your boy Lord Lucretius.
I'm a freelance videographer and aspiring documentary filmmaker. I specialize in event, brand engagement, a bit of fashion, and then music.
I'm a freelance photographer. I'm also award-winning fun contemporary photographer. Currently, I'm delving in fashion photography where I work with fashion brands, as well as model agencies.
I'm the divisional head of the laboratory by Tetrad Group. We're a brand strategy consultancy with a deep focus on audiovisual production.
I'm a marketing consultant and I specialize in social media.
I'm an artist from South Africa, specializing in conveying the human condition through poetry and arts.
Okay, welcome back. Next one is we want to talk about, it's more like numerical, but how do you know when you're quoting for a job, especially if it's not per hour based, like a project, that it's necessarily going to be profitable? Because you've got things to take into consideration like equipment or costs that aren't just your time. So how do you approach that? I mean, when a project comes along, because again, like you might have a 50,000 Rand job that sounds profitable, but when you do the numbers afterwards, actually lost money on it. So what's typically your approach to that stuff?
Your spreadsheet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, spreadsheet breaking down costs, everything. I mean, but like also as a creative, you kind of like factor in a lot of costs into projects. So for instance, I will bill for my Adobe account every single time, because that's just something that I have to use. I'll factor in my insurance costs, fuel, car insurance. Then you need to put a number on the time that you spend on it, and you have to realistically think about how long it's going to take to film, how long it's going to take to edit.
Have you always done it this way? Because it seems very thorough what you're doing.
No, I have not, and I shot myself because, like in the foot, because you just say kind of like 20,000 Rand sounds great, but then in reality you end up making. Sorry guys,
Go for it.
Not even. Like you end up like running up and you walk around. If like for instance, if you're not making at least, I would say, a 50% profit on a project, it's probably not.
Is that before your time or after your time?
And that's everything inclusive.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's also like a split, especially as a person like who just started a business. Like I can't take all that money for myself because that's just stupid. So the split that me and my partner have is we take 100%. 25, 50 to the business.
Okay.
Every time. That's good. Yeah. Because we are obviously investing in the future. But no, the spreadsheet thing is very new. I would say like that definitely came from working for that agency. And that's one thing that I'm once again thankful for. It's just approaching every project with a clear mind and factoring in worst case scenario every single time.
And what's the exact technology you would use? Google Sheets?
Oh yeah, just a Google Sheet, work out like a normal, like an Excel spreadsheet.
And how is it categorized? By month, by project?
By project.
Okay.
And then it would sort of be like quoting, but you factor in, you make a list of all of the expenses that you could potentially run up versus what they're willing to pay you, how many people you actually need to get on board, how much they would be expected to be paid, and then also factoring the time.
How much of that detail do you then share with the clients if they want to get an idea of how the number came?
Yo, that's an annoying thing. I hate when they ask you to itemize.
Yeah, you just give them full itemized billing.
Okay.
But honestly, I don't think all of us are always super transparent with it.
Yeah.
But you would then kind of lump stuff up. Like, for instance, I'm not going to tell them that I'm charging them for my insurance because to them that doesn't make sense. They're like, why am I paying the insurance?
Yeah.
So I would factor that into like
Travel costs.
my day rate.
Yeah.
Right. But no, day rate, travel costs will always be like, this is what it costs per K. This is what you're paying
Because that's
for.
also for SARS and stuff.
Yes.
I don't run up like a insane bill for just willy-nilly anything, but there are definite certain things that you need to take into consideration.
Yeah.
How tempting is it? I mean, be honest as you want on this thing, but when you are billing per hour and you've got a reliable client who will pay you, how tempting is it to embellish the hours?
You're never.
Never.
Yeah.
It's like I mentioned, I suppose, in a previous episode, like you want to retain that relationship with your client, and for that to be mutually beneficial and to be running into the future, transparency is
honest.
always key.
But how often do you think it happens?
All the time.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All the time.
Quite
I've,
often.
seen people charge for rental, but they still show up with the same gear.
Yeah.
Like it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Even with freelancers, or
Yeah, definitely, dude.
Okay.
Everybody's like, a lot of people have like a very warped approach to things, and everybody's just trying to make a quick buck.
Yeah, you'll probably find people selling 40 hours a day.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't work.
Be surprised.
So you said you put everything in Google Sheet. What's your like workflow like from then? How will you create like another Google Sheet and turn that into an invoice? Did you find like a sample? Because what I used to do is I would find like an editable Word and then export that to PDF and then send that as an invoice.
Oh, you mean how do you keep your invoicing as a system? How do you keep an invoicing system?
Yeah, or even before that, just sending an
Quoting
invoice.
system, yeah.
Or
Like,
quoting system.
how did you do that? Also on Google
I
Sheets?
use
or-
this software.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but I've recently learned of a new one.
But are softwares really necessary when you're quoting
Yeah.
Yes.
and
Yeah.
invoicing?
It goes
Tell me, what are
in-
the advantages?
I think
It's
this
a place
is,
to keep track.
and yeah, it reminds me of Hansen and later the story. Of
Okay.
being able to go back and see what you did, because it's I'll liken this to making coffee. I'm big into making coffee. You time your dose. You make sure your portafilter's hot. You make sure you have 18 grams in to 32 grams out with water. But to be able to do that, you have to do the same thing again and again, and you have to keep like track of what you're doing. So if you have a situation in the past, because what you want to do in business, efficiency is minimizing your input and maximizing your output. To do that, you have to leave breadcrumbs. And to leave breadcrumbs, you can't be using like what I did is have a Google Sheet again and again, and then I'll change it, and then I'll think
It
what-
works in the very short term.
Yeah, it works once or twice, but then when I go, what did I invoice client X last time? Because I'm going to invoice client Y the same thing because it's actually the same work. Then I go, I can't find, I have to do it, which means I've now lost 30 minutes an hour trying to put this invoice together. Whereas if I have a system, it's all just there. I can pull it.
Yeah, I mean,
to
It
PDF.
knows what you charge.
I've actually
for
got one
that.
close to home. Now,
Okay.
this is not quite freelancing, but my wife runs a little bit of a cottage industry from home, and it makes a little bit of money and she really enjoys what she does. But I say to her, so has everyone paid you the work that you've done? She goes, I think so. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So you don't
That's
know.
really needed.
And it's actually having a system of record actually is I think quite handy.
My invoicing system, if I'm unpaid after 30 days, sends a reminder.
Yeah.
It sends
Okay.
statements to my clients that have not paid. And also, it's important to keep like clear track of all the money that comes into your business every month, where everything's being allocated to, what you're spending money on,
Yeah.
because you have to build up that sort of nest egg for the off periods. Like,
Yeah,
let's
but
be
the-
honest.
but the other thing on that one is actually it's similar question is how do you deal with investing in the future? So you get two different types of expenses, like operational expenses, which is kind of your OPEX, and you get your CAPEX, which is your capital expenses. And I would imagine all of you, okay, maybe not so much the work that you do, you don't need equipment necessarily beyond a laptop and
More softwares.
yeah, but it's not like you need expensive
Yeah, equipment.
rigging and camera stuff and
Yeah.
so on and so forth. And it can be quite tricky to figure out what's worth spending because it's an investment in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And finding that line in terms of what's and then actually baking that into your costs because theoretically you should be also putting in depreciation expenses into your factory because that's a legitimate expense.
Yes. Is that a
Oh no,
question?
it's just go for it.
I don't know, guys. For me, I think the invoicing thing is still something that I'm looking at because as a freelancer, I wasn't exposed to efficiency like spreadsheets and software, what's and all of that, all that stuff. So I use a normal template and I base it based on my rate card. Normally, I know how to do my taxes perfectly. I know how to avoid write-off taxes and all of that stuff. Anything finance, I have knowledge, I have experience with it. So for me, it was like, why do I need a system that's going to tell me what to do when I already know what to do?
Well, it's not going to.
You know what I mean?
It's-
Because I know that the invoices and the and the proof of payments and all of that are going to help when you want to get more funding, when you want to maybe buy something for your company or whatever. But like, do I really need it if I know how to do all my taxes and all of that? And I already know how to keep track. I already know how to bookkeep.
Or you go into the bank, or you want a visa.
Yes.
Or anything. You have those records there, like just
It's there.
not like.
Wait, so how do you actually do it practically?
Bookkeeping normally, the old school way. All my invoices for January,
Profile.
May,
Oh.
April, June, July, all of them there. Everything has been billed for tax. I know how much tax I'm paying that year, whatever.
So to be honest,
It's
it
a
just
normal
makes
bookkeeping system for
software
me.
would make your life just a little bit easier.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, how would it make my life easier if I'm already doing all of that? Does it only save
Way
me
faster.
time?
You can automate it.
I save
obviously.
time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's automation. It's like you said,
Like
having
retainers, you can have an auto invoice that goes off by itself.
Yeah.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, it works great. And like also like you said, just like having access to it anywhere. Got
Sit
my
and
laptop,
run
it's on my
The
laptop,
other
it's on
thing,
my
I mean-
iPad, it's on my phone.
The other thing, so I've only been kind of having to create invoices for myself for the last 6 to 9 months kind of thing. So I had to figure out the hard way that it's quite useful. But I've obviously had to pay a lot of invoices. And I've got kids that do tennis lessons, and that's an invoice. And so, and I quickly recognize I prefer paying invoices that are easy to, okay, I prefer paying no money, but I prefer paying invoices that are actually easy to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can name the ones from my memory, what are the ones that are easiest to pay. So Pathcare, for example, their invoices are so easy to pay because there's a snap scan code and I just
Okay.
click, put it in my app, put in a pin, and it's done. And it I don't have to send anyone anything. So
they don't have to fill in the banking
no,
details as
nothing.
well. They just click on your invoice.
So for me, it's also actually
Okay.
a good invoicing solution should also make payment easy.
Yeah.
Because so it's not
That-
an EFT, it's not so it should if your client, and you're probably working with bigger clients, but if you're working with a client that has to pay you $5,000 here or $10,000 here,
You'd want that quick.
yeah, you just want to. It's like an e-wallet, but this one keeps track. It can keep track of the money coming in and
No,
make
that's
it
what I
easy
would
to
buy
pay.
into.
I would
Yeah.
love
I would buy
an
into
invoicing solution with a payment gate.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah,
what.
just send the email.
Well,
Craft doesn't.
Yeah, snap scan and instant EFT.
I think Craft might be my first invoicing software.
Be
system.
patient.
I'm busy moving over.
Think about this, and I'm throwing you a lowball, but what if you got sick and you couldn't work anymore?
I read what you guys are about. That's what made me want to do this even more. I'm like,
Yeah.
these guys are actually quite cool. Like,
So Craft would be able to pay you based on having an idea of how much money you're making every month and qualify you to be able to protect your income in the case that you get sick. I don't know.
No, if you
don't want to advertise here, but
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
actually like a really cool.
No,
Yeah.
so, I mean, it's this is probably because you've got you mentioned insurance. Now, getting insurance for your equipment and your car and stuff is
It's a must.
yeah, it's a must, but it's also relatively straightforward.
Yeah.
Because a camera's a camera. It's probably going to cost you. It's not cheap to insure, but it's actually really hard for freelancers to get protection against their income if they can't work.
yes.
In many cases, you can't actually get that product. So that's also one of the things we want to try and solve is to say,
The work without pay issue.
yeah, if you
Yeah.
if you have a backup, I mean, okay, you're probably on your feet a lot, right?
Yes.
It's not a. I mean, you could probably do your job in a chair,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But you guys probably couldn't. So if that happens, your livelihood is
Yeah.
at risk.
Yeah.
But you can't actually currently today buy insurance for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's also one of those things we're trying to figure out. So what we've got, what Felix is mentioning is that we built an accidental version of that, meaning that if an accident causes you to be out from an injury or sickness or something like that as a result of an accident, we'll pay you a factor of the invoices that you paid in the recent past, basically. So but it's not quite enough coverage, but it's free, so it's not
Yeah,
big
it's
as company
fair.
chooses.
I mean,
So that's the kind of stuff. That's where we're trying to understand the problems better and solve them because it's actually quite important. So
It
same
is.
with credits. You guys try to get credits.
Yep.
Tough. Home
Oh.
loan, car finance.
Look, that's what I want to know about this kind of stuff, guys. When it comes to you're a freelancer and naturally you would have a company, okay, where all the money goes.
What do you mean naturally? A registered P2 Island.
For me, I'm a freelancer and I have a company as
Yeah.
well, okay? So I have personal income tax and I have company tax.
Yeah.
Now, if I want to buy a new car, would it be smart to get it under the company? And if I get it under the company, what do I need? Because I'm a freelancer to, obviously you need collateral when you're taking out loans and whatever. It's cheaper to do everything under your business or an LLC, whatever you want to call it. How does a freelancer get to that level of buying power through their business.
So typically you need to.
How does your company gain that?
So normally it would be you have to be in operations for at least 3 years. That's one. And then often you have to have revenue of over R1 million a year.
Yeah.
And that's quite a tricky one.
That's impossible
Yeah.
when you.
So the reality in this country is there's not a shortage of demand for credits. So this part of the market actually gets neglected essentially. But ironically, if you were paying yourself a salary out of your business,
Yes.
and you're an employee of the business,
Yes.
you could probably get the credit because I'm an employee. Look, there's a business,
That's
I've got a
what it is.
paycheck,
Pay slip,
and it's the
and
same
UIF,
money,
and
it's
it's your own, etc.
it's a fault in the system basically. So, but obviously buying the car through the business is
It's a lot cheaper. Everything is a lot cheaper through the
Why
business.
would it be a lot cheaper buying?
because it's a tax rental.
28% company
I thought
tax,
you meant-
40,
I meant because of that.
45% on personal.
Yeah, up to 45. Yeah.
And if you buy a single cab bucky, you can write off VAT if you're VAT registered. So if you own over R1 million or you preliminarily VAT registered, you can write off the VAT on the purchase of the vehicle.
Exactly.
Only if it's a single cab bucky. That's the only car that qualifies at this point.
Why is it just that car? Like, is there any
Because
specific reason?
SARS wants you only to buy a car or allows you only to write off the value-added tax on a car that is only
For business, yeah.
and they qualify only that car as a business sole purpose business.
So the other challenge with credit, so I've got a friend who he works for himself. He's in the engineering space, or construction. So it's not what we're doing, but he wanted to buy a house. He had the income to do it, but he couldn't get a home loan because he's paying as little tax as possible. And they say, show me what your SARS submissions are. It's like, but that's not the. That's like.
And if your credit is good and your credit score is good, as a company,
Yeah,
that
but
still
they-
doesn't show for anything.
But there's two things they do. They look at your affordability, and then they look at the risk that you're not going to repay. So credit score helps with the second one.
Yes.
But affordability is 100% linked to the income they think you're getting.
Yeah.
Not your credit.
So not your credit score. So you can have a brilliant credit score and earn R1,000 a month. They're not going to give you R1 million loan.
So your credit is how much money you can acquire.
No, how quickly and regularly you pay back.
So
It's your credit score.
So there's two.
no, but that's credit score.
Yeah, credit
There's
score.
credit and there's credit score.
Yeah, credit.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So is credit how much you can acquire from
Yeah,
a
credit.
bank?
Well, credit is like
And
they
then-
will give you X amount of credits. Yeah, that's the amount. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying is that as a business, if you have enough credit and you have a good credit score, do you still have to wait for that 3 years and that R1 million turnover for you to actually buy that item?
It would
A
depend.
car or a
It
house or
depends.
whatever.
Yeah, it depends. I think it's hard though.
It's so tricky.
It is
Creative
hard.
hot take as a creative.
Buy cash.
Aside from buying cash, date a doctor, architect.
So you guys can have.
Very rich, good financial advice. Entrepreneurs Anonymous is proudly brought to you by Craft. Craft builds solutions for freelancers by freelancers.